So, Berto, I have a bunch of emails, plus I have a bunch of tougher bluffs and stats about divorce to go over with you. Berto, what do you say we get into it?
I would love it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Who are you, Berto?
My name is Humberto Castaneda, and I manufacture spandex skinny jeans.
So, divorce rate by country. I'm going to give you a country, and you tell me if it's top 10 in the world or bottom 10 in terms of divorce rate. Top 10 means high rates of divorce, bottom 10, low rates of divorce. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Spain, top 10 or bottom 10?
Ooh, of divorce. I'm going to go top 10 of divorce.
That's right. It is number 2 at 65%.
Which is crazy because it's a Catholic country. It's the hotbed of Catholicism for so long.
Yeah.
And yet, yeah.
UK, top 10, bottom 10.
UK, top 10 or bottom 10. I'm going to go top 10 as well.
Yep.
It's most divorce.
Number 7.
Okay.
Good old Colombia, Berto.
Bottom 10.
It is third from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
At 9%.
Yeah, that one's a very traditional Catholic country. And so divorce is a no-go.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Luxembourg, Berto. Luxembourg. It's like the middle.
Is Luxembourg its
Europe.
own? It's not part of the. Okay, so I'm going to go. Isn't Luxembourg where the Disney castle is at? Like not the one that looks like Disney.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna say it is in the bottom 10%.
It is number 1, top 10 at
Really?
87%.
Wow! Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Almost 9 out of 10 divorces.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now I got this from a few different
my God.
sites. I'm not quite sure about that one. Seems like really weird, but I mean, I don't know why Luxembourg.
Do you know the castle I'm talking about? By the way,
Yeah.
It's Neuschwanstein or something.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
Mexico, Berto, bottom 10.
Okay,
top
that's
10.
also bottom 10.
Yeah, it's number 4.
Also deeply Catholic. Yeah.
Kenya, top 10, bottom 10. Kenya.
Kenya is also. Kenya is bottom 10.
Yep, it's 5th at 15%. United States of America, top 10, bottom 10.
Top 10 at like 50%.
46%, 5th place.
Okay.
India, top 10, bottom 10.
Ooh, very traditional society. I'm going to go bottom 10.
It is the far lowest at 1%.
1%. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Turkey.
Some stable homes.
Turkey and Iran are actually tied. At what number? Bottom 10, top 10.
There must be a stiff social penalties for divorce there. So I'm going to go bottom 10%.
Bottom 10, but 22% divorce rate.
Well, that's actually high.
Yeah. So even the countries, aside from, Chile is number 2 at 3%.
Jeez.
And Colombia, but then it jumps up to Colombia at 9%, Mexico 15,
Right.
Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, Brazil, Turkey, Iran. These are all in like the 20, around the 20.
Huh.
And then there's a lot that are sort of in the 30s to 40s, like Canada,
Right.
Australia, New Zealand, UK, Germany, US, Russia, France. France is actually 3rd at 55, but in Spain, we jump up to 65. Then Luxembourg, we jump up to 87.
Wow.
All right. Divorce by religion, Berto. We have the 6 top religions in the United States or in the world. If we break out Christianity versus Catholicism, which is kind of weird, but what are the other 4 main religions of the world, Berto?
Islam.
Yeah.
And Judaism.
Yeah.
And Hinduism.
And
Buddhism.
Yeah. So divorce rate by religion.
Okay.
And this doesn't include atheists. This is just people who identify as that religion. So this is around the world. So,
Okay.
for Christians in every Christian country, average out what's the divorce rate percentage wise.
And you said Christians and Catholics are split out?
Yeah, but they're basically the same. So we could, in terms of rate, so we can just.
Oh, I see. Interesting. All right. So for Christians, I'm going to guess it's like 30%.
Close, 37, 36 for Catholics. Yeah. What about the other religions?
For Islam, I'm going to go with 40%.
More than Christians and Catholics?
Oh, fine. 20%.
Yeah, 20%.
I don't know the particulars of the Islamic religion. I just know that in Catholicism, you're not like it used to be. Like you had to ask the Pope or something. Like you couldn't get divorced.
Yeah. So with Catholic, it's kind of weird because you're looking at places like Colombia, which is Catholic, correctly, and Mexico, which is pretty low, Chile. But then you're also talking about places like the United States and Ireland, and there's various Catholicism is a lot of places, right? So Islam 20%, which is actually higher than I would have thought. I would have thought that Islam would be really low. What about Buddhism?
Okay, Buddhism, I'm gonna go 10%.
30%.
30%. Okay.
Jewish people.
Judaism. Okay, so that one I'm going lower than. I'm going to go 10% for Judaism.
28%.
28%. Okay.
Hindu.
Oh, well, Hindu we learned. Okay, so that one's 5%.
1%.
1%. Sure. I wasn't sure if it was as low as the country, but fine.
Yeah. So the kind of surprising thing is for Muslims, Jewish, and Buddhist people, you're looking at 20 to 30%. So you're looking at 1 of 5, 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce. When you're talking Christian, Catholic, you're about 1 in 3, regardless of where you live. And it doesn't matter what country you live in, And then Hindu, you're dropping way down to 1%, which I didn't know. I didn't know that India and Hindu individuals were that averse to divorce. Now, I will say that when I see a stat like that, I think of a lot of people that are in marriages. I think of two things. One is that there's a lot of people that are probably forced to stay married that don't want to be if they had the choice. And two, I think about a society that might support marriage a little bit better or might have more kind of messages around, hey, be nice to your spouse or work it out, or more family orientation or something. I don't know.
I do believe like in Colombia, that is part of it in that, first of all, people tend to get married older. At least that, from my experience around my circle of experience, people lived in the home longer and then left the home to get married later. A lot of times you didn't have as much money. It's also culturally traditional to live with your parents longer, Also, the families, like you go to grandma's house, like there's more family activities are a very big thing constantly. So there is more of a support system in that sense.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's the Catholic thing. Like you're just not supposed to do
it. Average length of marriage by country. Average length of marriage by country. What do you think? USA. Average length of marriage.
Ooh.
All marriages.
All marriages.
Those that last for one's entire life.
All right.
Average length.
I'm going to go 12 years.
Oh my God. On the money. Ding,
no
ding,
way.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, because I was thinking, 7-year itch, but that can't be the average. So I'm going to bump it up. 12.
What about Italy? More or less than 12?
Ooh, 12. Italy. These old couples, but they are also in Italy. What does that mean? I don't know. The average is 15.
It is 18. So good.
Okay.
France, more or less?
It's like 1%. Or 1 year. No, obviously I'm stereotyping the France. Is it more or less than Italy? I'm going to go less. So I'm going to go 10 years.
13.
Okay.
Mexico. So remember, USA is 12. Right. What's Mexico?
20.
12. So this is what's kind of weird is that even though Mexico has a far lower rate of divorce. The length of their actual marriages are the same in the United States as in Mexico.
And that's part of what I was saying, is that people, I think, get married later. And I could be wrong about this, but in Colombia, this was true.
Yeah.
Like think of my cousin. My cousin Andres just got married last year, and that's totally normal.
How old is he?
He's in his 30s,
Yeah, interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, partially, like I said, there is a cultural thing where you live with your parents through university, and you don't move out. It's just, you don't move out. Like you move out when you're married, when you get married. That's one thing. The other one is, I think there is an expectation of you got to be stable to get married. And like, this is just the norm. Obviously, there's tons of out of wedlock and all these things as well. And then there's the Catholic thing. I think that there's an expectation that this is a serious thing. You can't just rush into it, and then it's going to be for life and blah, blah, blah.
When they polled people, I think particularly in the United States, why people got divorced, what do you think the categories were that they came up with?
Money arguments, financial.
It depends on that was on one survey, but this survey was more general than that. So
okay.
So I'll categorize that as argue too much.
Argue too much.
So they're arguing.
Okay, sure. Argue too much. I could see that. Infidelity.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Health conditions.
Nope.
I don't know what else there is.
So we got the number one.
Long distance, like because they had to be long distance and it didn't work.
No, I mean maybe. So because the categories. So the categories, number one is lack of commitment, 73%. So that's kind of interesting.
Okay, this is just what people say then.
Right. Why did you get divorced? Well,
why'd you get divorced?
My spouse lacked commitment or something. Number two is arguing too much at 56%, which I find to be kind of low. You'd think that argue too much would be number one to me. Infidelity, 55% of people say they got divorced because of infidelity.
Yeah.
Married too young, 46%. Unrealistic expectations, 45%. Lack of equality in the relationship, 44%. Lack of preparation for marriage, maybe that's, maybe 41%. And domestic violence or abuse, 25%.
25%?
So remember, we have for first marriages, I think in the United States, the divorce rate is something like 35%, and the average is 46%. So if we look at second marriages, what's the divorce rate for that?
Okay, second marriages, it's 40%.
60%.
60%.
Third marriages.
Okay, so I remember. Okay, so first marriage, ironically, lasts longer. The second one lasts shorter, but by the third one, you're starting to get it. So it's 30%.
Nope, 73.
Okay, so it's third time's not a charm. All right.
Yeah. It's sort of interesting because you would think that would be the thing. Like if you're gonna marry a third time,
if you're gonna do it a third time.
Yeah, but if essentially different way of looking at it, which apparently is borne out in the data, is if you're prone to divorce, then you're prone to divorce.
By the way, I started watching The Crown.
Yeah.
Thank you for recommending it.
Okay.
I finally gave up. I was like, look, Kirk says so often, I gotta watch this thing.
Yeah.
It's so entertaining.
Right?
I never thought I would care.
Yeah.
It's so entertaining. And the brother of the king the scandal had been that he got married to a three-time divorcee.
Yeah. Right. An American. And similar to, Harry and Meghan. That's happening. Yeah. Same. I, just like you, could not care less about some foreign country's aristocratic, rich, inbred family. And that has no bearing on politics or anything. And just had no idea why anyone would pay attention, particularly an American. I mean, For me, I felt like for an American to pay attention to this, it's like a Jewish person being like super interested in Nazis or something. It just,
yeah, exactly.
It's like you realize that they were the oppressors. We rebelled against them. They killed us to keep us under their thumb. It's 250 years ago, so it's
water under the London Bridge.
But after watching the show, I'm like, oh, this is like one of the best made TV shows, best shows that's ever been made, best acted.
What's his name? Deserves an Emmy like multiple times, but I guess he only got nominated.
The guy who plays
John Lithgow.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, because I like him, but it's
funny because you're watching the first season, which I saw like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to the most recent season. It really, that's why I told you, I was jealous that you hadn't seen it. And you have so much to watch ahead of you. It's like
young Berto.
Yeah. Okay. Divorce rate by profession in the United States, top 5, bottom 5. I'll give you a profession. You tell me top 5, bottom 5.
All right.
Massage therapist, top 5, bottom 5.
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. On the one hand, I'd be like, oh, it's got to be top 5 because they end up, falling for their clients. That's my stereotype in my head.
or the fantasy in your head.
Actually, massage therapists go through a lot of training. They're very in touch with bodies, literally. And I'm gonna go low, bottom.
Nope, top 5, 38%. I think possibly because not that massage therapists get divorced, but massage therapists usually live in cities, and I think cities.
Well, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Podiatrists. So these are people that work on feet. Top 5, bottom 5.
That's a stable, rooted, grounded profession. So I'm going to go bottom.
Yeah, bottom 7%. Yep. Optometrists. Top 5, bottom 5. Eye doctors.
Can I just, one quick digression?
What?
Can I tell you how grateful I am that we live with enough humans that have enough unique tastes and interests that I can go to someone that specializes on feet. Like that's impressive, because if you rewind the clock, you had like a foot problem. It's like, I heard that 2 continents over, there is one cave with one person that might care.
Yeah, it's one of the things playing strategy games like Civilization, where these games actually will try to model how society works. And one of the mechanisms in Civilization is when you have a small population, everyone has to be a farmer. And as your population gets bigger and bigger and your technology on agriculture gets better, fewer people can work on calories. And then you can have these specialists who work on the economy or who work on science or in the military. And I remember early on, like 25 years ago, when I played the first Civilization, I was like, oh, yeah, that's why we have so many people in our society who just focus on these extremely narrow fields, like foot medicine. And the reason why we can have those people, we want those people, obviously, but the only reason why we can is because we have a foundation of calories and stability and law enforcement and the nuts and bolts of a society to keep it running, and also the calories, so that we have the luxury of having people do all these other things that are sort of icing on the cake, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, what was the profession?
Optometrist, eye doctor.
Optometrist.
Top 10, top 5, bottom 5.
You're looking into people's eyes. That's how you fall in love. I'm going to go there in the top 5 divorces.
Bottom 5, 4%. One of
bottom
the
5.
Lowest.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 4%. Gaming cage workers. Gaming cage workers. What's a gaming cage work? Cage work. Oh, you know what that probably is? Well, gaming cage work. Is that like a carny? Is that like a...
Yeah, maybe.
Gaming cage work. I got to Google this.
Or is that like a gaming
cage worker?
Farm.
Job description. Gaming
Destruction.
cage work in casinos. Oh, casinos.
Oh, gaming cage. I get it.
Okay. I thought about that, but I was like, that's not, you call them like
Okay.
pit bosses and
Yeah,
dealers and
okay,
stuff.
okay.
Anyway, so those
Ooh,
will be,
casinos. That's not a good environment for marriage. So I'm gonna go. They're in the bottom.
they're in the bottom.
Meaning the top. They're a
Top five.
top
Top five,
divorce
yeah.
rate. Sorry.
Yeah. 35%. So I'll give you the top 5: dancers,
Yeah.
bartenders, massage therapists, gaming cage workers, and gaming service workers.
Makes
Bottom
sense to me.
5, you have farmers, podiatrists, clergy, of course, optometrists, and agricultural engineers are the lowest at 2%.
That all
Divorce rate
checks out.
by state, Berto. Top 5, bottom 5, Nevada.
Nevada is bottom 5.
Top 5.
Wow.
West Virginia, top 5.
But
bottom
Nevada's
5.
got a lot. Oh, because casino. But that's not the majority of their population. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
What's the next one?
West Virginia, top 5, bottom 5.
West Virginia. That's bottom 5.
Top 5, West Virginia.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Probably
upsetting my
poverty
expectations.
plays a
I
role.
guess so.
I don't know. Arkansas, top 5, bottom
Oh,
5.
I'm gonna go top 5 then.
Yep, top 5.
Okay.
Oklahoma, top 5,
Top
bottom
5.
You're right, top
Oh my
5.
gosh.
Idaho, top 5, bottom 5.
Give me a bottom 5. There's a lot of farming there. Bottom 5.
Top 5.
Oh my gosh. Not even one. But you just told me the professions. I don't get it.
Yeah, the bottom 5 are Iowa, Illinois, Massachusetts, North Dakota, and Pennsylvania. I don't understand. There's no rhyme or reason to that pattern for me.
Yeah.
Because you have North Dakota bottom 5, but then you have Idaho and Oklahoma top
Yeah.
5. But to me,
So weird.
North Dakota and Idaho and Oklahoma have a lot in common. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and
very
why
weird.
North Dakota? Why not South Dakota? Why Massachusetts and not like Pennsylvania?
Rhode
Like,
Island.
yeah, it's sort of a weird. Oh no, Pennsylvania is in the bottom 5. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right. I have a bunch of tougher bluffs about divorce. Tougher bluff, Berto. The divorce rate is falling. Tougher bluff. Divorce rate falling in the United States.
I'm gonna go tough. It had been rising. Now it's falling.
Correct. Had been rising. Now it's falling. Younger people are waiting longer to get married, and they are staying married longer. Tougher bluff, Berto. January is considered divorce month.
Ooh, yeah, tough, man. You barely made it through the holiday season. You make a New Year's resolution. You're like, I'm going to do it. I'm leaving.
Well, it is tough, but the speculation or the experience is a little different than what you said, which is that people seem to decide to get divorced in December, and they pull the cord in January.
Yeah.
So it seems that the holidays accentuate one's
It's a stressful time.
problems, I guess. Yeah. Tougher bluff, Berto. Living together prior to marriage increases the chance of getting divorced.
Oh, wow.
Cohabitation
Yeah,
prior to marriage increases the chance of getting divorced. Tough.
No, that's got to be a bluff, man. You got to check out the goods before you buy.
Right. That's the common narrative, but it is tough. You
Yeah.
are almost 50% more likely to get divorced if you cohabitate. So this is a problem of causation versus correlation.
Sure.
We don't really know. We just know that they're associated. It seems reasonable to me to believe that it's not necessarily cohabitation that causes the divorce to happen, because that's what the religious right would want to say is like living together is in sin and then bad things happen. But another possibility is that people who live together prior to marriage are just the sort of people who are just more likely to get divorced anyway. Like they are more metropolitan, they feel like they have more options. It's not as stigmatized. That's probably what it is. It's like, if you have less stigma about living together without being married, you also have less stigma about getting divorced, which
that could be.
Tougher bluff, Berto. Arkansas has the highest rate of individuals being married 3 or more times. Arkansas has the highest rate Individuals.
I'm going to go tough based on the earlier questions.
It is tough. I have no idea why Arkansas would have the most, Elizabeth Taylors, if you will.
Yeah.
And didn't Larry King get married a bunch of times too?
Probably.
Tougher bluff, Berto. Earning more money raises the risk of divorce. Earning more money raises the risk of divorce. Tougher bluff.
Yeah, that's a really good one because on the one hand, you would think, oh, I've got money. I can go out and party and cheat. But the flip side is like, I've got no money. It's stressful. We're arguing all the time. I'm going to go out and drink and cheat. I'm going to go bluff. Getting more money does not increase the odds of divorce.
Correct. Bluff. It actually lowers the risk, probably for the reason you said.
Yeah.
Tougher bluff. Drinking raises the risk of divorce by almost double.
I'm going to go tough on that one.
Yeah.
Drinking is troublesome.
Yeah, tough. Smoking cigarettes raises the risk of divorce by almost double.
God, what? I mean, I guess if like only one of them is doing it, I'm going to go bluff on that.
It's tough.
It's tough?
Yeah. Again, correlation, causation.
Sure.
That like smoking cigarettes would be the problem, but there's probably other things associated with smoking cigarettes.
Oh, like sex, of course. Because you have to smoke after sex with strangers. So
tougher bluff, Berto. 45% of divorces cited video game addiction as a major factor for divorce.
Wait, what percentage?
45% of divorces.
No, video game. I could see it like, 8% or something. No, bluff.
Yeah, you're right. 15%, but still a lot.
15%. That's a huge number of divorces.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
That's a major factor, not just
that's crazy.
Yeah. Now, what I would say to this is that it's not a reflection of necessarily video game addiction. I mean, video game addiction is a thing, but I've heard many clients come to me claiming that their spouse has an addiction to video games. And when I investigate it, I'm like, no, your spouse just likes to play video games and you feel distant from them, and you blame the video games. But really what's happening is the two of you long ago had a lot of hurt between the two of you and a lot of distance. And your spouse doesn't know what else to do and is playing video games. Before there were video games, they would have just been watching TV or they would have been working on their car. It's not the video games aren't the problem. It's now, having said that, plenty of people do develop video game problems, but it's the same with like sex addiction. My spouse is a sex addict. It's like, well, maybe because there are compulsive sex addicts, but plenty of people just cheat chronically because of their attachment issues or they don't like the marriage they're in. And so just this label of like they're a video game addict or a sex addict.
Yeah, some people are like, I don't want to have sex 10 times before breakfast. Oh, you must be an addict. I mean, what's that?
Yeah. Tougher bluff, Berto. 65% of divorced mothers received no child support. 65% of divorced mothers in the United States receive no child support.
Oh my God. I hope that's not right. I'm going to go bluff because I don't want it to be true.
It's tough. Yeah.
What?
Well, one, because sometimes there's mutual parenting, but also, to get child support, it's kind of a thing. It's kind of a process. And so anyway, the stereotype that divorced mothers are always, collecting a check is actually
rolling in the dough.
Yeah. Tougher bluff, Berto, is if a close friend gets divorced, so you have a close friend that gets divorced, you are 5 times more likely to become divorced yourself.
5 times is a ridiculous multiplier. Okay, so on the one hand, I could see the logic of some increase because you're like, oh, so you can get divorced and they survived. Oh, that's interesting. I could see that. But 5 times, I mean, no. I'm going to go bluff.
Yep, true. 2 times.
Okay.
Still significant. I mean, double the chance.
Still crazy. Double the chance. Oh my God.
Tougher bluff, Berto. The average cost of a divorce in the United States is $4,000. Average cost
Jeez.
of a divorce in the United States is $4,000. Tougher bluff.
That's a lot of dough, but it almost feels worse because like I watch movies and they're like, oh my gosh, this divorce is gonna kill me. But $4,000 seems like a lot of money. So I'm gonna go tough.
It's bluff. It's $15,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me, but that's average, by the way. So, you have
so
people
it
that
can
get
go
divorced
a lot
for
higher than that.
Yeah, you have people that get divorced for like 1,000. You have a lot of people get divorced for a lot more. Yeah, it's a thing. As a therapist who's worked with a lot of people, couples, and individuals going through divorce,
That's
and
crazy.
everyone understands this, that when you're breaking up with someone, there's a lot of hurt feelings, and you get angry.
Yeah.
And you also consider your spouse to just be like possibly the worst person on the planet at that moment. And you'll be damned if they get your money or the kids.
Yeah.
And lawyers are supposed to fight for you and supposed to validate whatever you want.
Divorce lawyers are some of the highest earning professions in the country.
Yeah, and they're doing their job, but
Yep.
the problem is that it creates this runaway cascade system where each of the parties are amping up their fighting, which hurts the other person. And the other, we saw this process in the Marriage Story, the movie with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, right? Scarlett Johansson, right? Yeah. And the way in which you have to, it's like an arms race to some extent. And every time you amp up your legal fighting, it's more money. And to go to court is very expensive. And so and what a lot of anecdotal experience, and I believe research shows, is that even though you spend more money, the result is still the same. So like if you pay $2,000 for a divorce versus $100,000 for a divorce, you get the same result. But worse, because if it's $100,000, one, you're losing on the money, and two, there's been a lot of mudslinging towards each other, right? And so we have this thing called collaborative divorce, which I recommend people look into, which is contractually arranged such that the lawyers have to work it out. And if they can't work it out, they actually are contractually fired. So these people, they sign up as collaborative divorce lawyers, and they're like, if I cannot work this out with the other party, contractually, I must get fired from the case.
Whoa.
And so the lawyer's incentivized and trained, by the way, to work collaboratively. And part of that means when you're working with your client, you don't fan the flames. You say, well, I hear you. And if you go down that road emotionally, you're going to pay me a lot more money than normal, and we're going to trigger the other side. And so, I want to advocate for you for sure, but we gotta balance this out from what's likely to occur, which is not the typical way that lawyers will work with people. Or at least some lawyers won't, outside of collaborative divorce will work. Anyway. Tougher bluff, Berto. 20% of the parents with children transition to poverty after divorce. 20% of parents with children transition below the poverty level after getting divorced.
Yeah, I'm going to go tough on that one.
It is bluff. It's 50%.
50%, Kirk? What?
Think about everyone you know that has been divorced, and think about their life post-divorce.
Oh my God.
Think about the home, the apartment they live in, or their financial life after divorce. It is one of the most devastating financial moves that anyone can make. And particularly if you don't have a very solid career for yourself, then you're really screwed. If you, forwent, if you forego your career building process for the family, then you're really in a bad space after
50%. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, what this also points to is a lot of Americans are on the brink of poverty.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's two problems. Divorce is a problem, and two, we have a vast underclass or mainstream class is what we might call it, who are living paycheck to paycheck. Tougher bluff, Berto. 38% of couples who get marriage counseling 38% of couples who get marriage counseling divorce within 2 years of getting marriage counseling. 38% of couples who go to couples therapy will divorce within 2 years of getting couples therapy. Tough or bluff, Berto?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I don't know the percentage, of course, but I'm going to go tough in the sense that I actually would expect it's higher. So maybe I'll go bluff. Like it's a higher percentage because it was only 38%. Look, if you go to couples therapy, it means you're struggling. If it was actually only 38%, it means that's a ridiculously successful rate of stopping that path. So I'm going to go like, I don't know, 50-50 or something. 50%.
It's tough, 38%.
Okay.
And this is an issue of, causation versus correlation. What it looks like is like, wait, almost 40% of the couples who go to marriage counseling divorce.
But that's because that they were already on that path, right? So it's even better. It's 60%. More than 60% didn't.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So take it from me as a couples counselor. A lot of couples will come into my office after years and years of festering and contempt and hatred and love lost. And maybe one or both of the members are essentially saying, well, at least we can say we went to one session of couples counseling before I pull the cord, before we actually, or we have been talking about seriously getting divorced for 7 months, but maybe if we try couples counseling, it'll help. And sometimes it does, but other times I'm like, it's like bringing me your dead horse and saying, I think something's wrong with my horse. I'm like, it's dead, you should have brought it to me when the horse was still alive, but sick,
Oh, by the way, I shouldn't laugh. I can't laugh in your podcast anymore, man.
Why? What do you mean?
Can't do this. Because when we did the vor fetish episode, I laughed. And in one of the comments, in one of the YouTube comments was,
don't read the comments.
I know. But when it was like, I can't, and it's like, I'm disturbed that Humberto finds this funny. Like,
well, that person doesn't know you is the thing. If someone doesn't know you, that they're going to be like, "Who? That guy laughs too much." All right, so those are my divorce stats. Let's go to break, but let me kind of wrap this up by saying, divorce is a multifaceted thing, and for some people, it can be traumatic. For some people, it can be liberating. For other people, it's just a transition. But breaking up with someone is always a thing. And as a society, we have to recognize that it's a real thing and that there are real effects from it. And it's always a possibility whenever someone gets married. In fact, it's a real good possibility, close to 50%. Maybe, I can't remember, like 35% of first marriages, something around there, get divorced. So, it's a thing. And we need to destigmatize it. We need to bring it out into the open. We need to recognize that people should go to therapy earlier than later. We need to support people as they go through it and not stigmatize them after the fact. So, it's a thing. And
I think everyone should get divorced at least a couple times in their life.
Wait, are you just trying to provoke the YouTube people at this point? All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's read patron emails. What do you say, Berto?
Let's do it.
Hey, deserving listeners, as you know, I'm constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. One of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp.com. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to BetterHelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the /Kirk because you get 10% off your first month and it helps us out. I get a lot of emails from you saying that you're looking for a therapist. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, but I know it can be really hard to find a good one to work with. Like I said, one of the options available to try is BetterHelp.com/Kirk. And you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide, which is amazing. I've been told that you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message with your counselor anytime. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And I've been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy. So go to betterhelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month of therapy today. So, Berto, if a divorce lawyer was to convince a jury that his client deserves all the money so that his client can become a patron of the podcast, what would that sound like?
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone from the jury, you must understand something. This side over here is going to paint this as a situation, a story, if you will, of this evil creature who sure went on a trip to Las Vegas and, married 3 other people while they were already married. And yes, that's true. But you're going to hear all these crazy stories about how they stole all their money and they stole their jewels and sold them for drugs, which they did. But here's the point. All of that is just white noise. That's a distraction. My client has true love in his heart because he loves a podcast. And can we point fingers at people for loving podcasts? He loves the Psychology in Seattle podcast. And what this divorce is going to do, he's not going to be able to patronize that podcast that he loves, all because of a few indiscretions here or there. I urge you, please take all the money. Yes, they're going to be left with 10 kids and that's tough. But what's more important? That the kids will live. It's fine. They'll get governments from the check or something like that. But this person needs to pay that monthly money, the Psychology in Seattle, because that's what's important. So please do the right thing.
Do you realize you said he'll get governments from the
I just
check?
went with it.
All right. Patron Megan from Australia says, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how people behave online. I've noticed recently that people behave very negatively towards each other on Facebook. They're quick to attack and call each other names if they don't agree with someone. I've actually been attacked a few times for giving a different point of view on the Facebook fan page, on the Psychology in Seattle Facebook fan page. In contrast, the comments section on TikTok is amazing. People support each other.
Really?
And on Discord, it's the same thing. Interesting conversations and people being friendly towards each other. What do you think it is about Facebook that causes everyone to attack each other? I had wondered if it was because a lot of older people are on Facebook from the boomer generation, but that doesn't explain the difference between Psychology in Seattle Facebook fan page and the Discord groups at Psychology in Seattle. I'd love to hear what you think. Berto, what do you think?
Man, that's fascinating. I'm curious too. What's funny about it is in Facebook, you're using your actual real persona.
I know.
Your name and everything.
And Discord and TikTok, you're not.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I would have expected TikTok at least to be like YouTube, like another cesspool. So I'm surprised to hear that coming. But Discord, I have only good experiences in Discord. And so I guess I'm not surprised, although I don't have a great explanation there. I think with Facebook, something odd has happened over the years is that a lot of us, and I include myself in there, have treated Facebook like a massively multiplayer game. And you're trying to like score points somehow. Yeah. And so, I'll do things like I'll see someone make a post. And my thing is not so much to, be mean, but I always have to try to get one up. If it's like a funny post, I need to try to one up them with a one-liner because I don't want to feel left out. I'm like, oh, you can't be seen as having a funny post. I'm going to reply with a one-liner and see if people actually like my one-liner. And so it's like a little mini game we play to, and we all do it in different ways. It's like, oh, I'll post this photo. I'll post this thing. And so there's that. And then how does it lead to improper or rude behavior is I feel like we all end up being aware in the back of our heads that we're all just putting on a little show here. And then we got to defend our semblance of reality here. And so like if someone makes a point, like it's a political point or whatever, this is our last stand. It's because we can't, like, especially during the pandemic, I bet you this got even worse because we had no other outlets. So we're like, hey, look, this is my meta game that I play daily. And this person is invading it with their opinions. and their opinions don't match my opinions, and I can't go anywhere and tell anyone that cares about my opinions, I'm going to unleash hell. Whereas on YouTube, or I guess in this case, we're talking about TikTok, I don't know these people. I don't know. Like I don't have as much writing on it for some reason. And in Discord, the difference is like I joined a specific community rather than like, like Facebook, it's this random assortment of individuals that over the years I collected. Whereas Discord is like, oh yeah, I'll join this community because I'm interested in that community. That's all I got, but that's what my experience is.
Yeah, it does seem contradictory. And the thing you're saying is that Facebook, it's your name, it's who you are with your face, and a lot of identifying information potentially on your homepage of like where you live, and on Discord and TikTok, and often on YouTube. I mean, YouTube, it can often be pretty bad too, but anyway, on Discord. But then I also think about how on other platforms, you can actually click on someone's username and see everything that they've done on the platform. Like Reddit is this way. Mm-hmm. If you click on someone's name on their profile, you can see literally every post that they've made, every comment that they've made on Reddit, on any subreddit, right? As long as it's not hidden. Are there hidden subreddits? Anyway. Whereas on Facebook, if you make a comment, you can't click on that person. If you're not friends with them, if there's privacy settings, you can't click on them and find out everything they've said. So you can sort of dip in and out of conversations without people knowing your ideology or the kinds of things you normally say or who you're connected to necessarily. Also, I think you brought up a point of like, because it's not anonymous, people ironically might be more likely to comment because they're like, hey, I need to stand up for myself. My identity is more invested in this persona. Whereas on Discord, I have this very weird username with an emoji for a profile picture. I don't really have my ego involved. Yeah. If someone insults me on Discord, I'm like, well, they don't know me. But on Facebook, someone insults me, it's like someone insulting you on the street. You feel personally affronted, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Yeah. You're right. When I've been on YouTube and someone says something like, that's a dumb comment or whatever they'll say, I don't feel compelled to keep going. I might make a little trolly jab back, but only because I'm a troll, but I don't feel compelled to like engage in it really. On Facebook, that about me. I mean, I've tried to reduce that and I've cut people off finally, but yeah, especially with politics and other things, I'm like, oh, I gotta go. This is my last stand. They will know what I stand for. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, if you didn't know, we have a Facebook fan page that's run by fans. We have a Discord that's run by fans too. We have a Twitter, but I barely ever use it. And we have Instagram. And Instagram is a pretty good place. And we also have a Facebook official page, which I run, me and my wife run. So you can join those things. And I know a lot of you are on those places, particularly the Facebook fan page. It's a pretty lively group over there. And please, for the love of God, be nice to each other and report to the moderators, because there are moderators there, if you think that something is going on, or at the very, maybe, connect with the moderators and be like, hey, are you a moderator? Yeah. And then you can have a direct line of communication if you're just like, I feel like this person's being a little mean, because debate is fine, but personal attacks and making people feel, anytime you're on the Facebook fan page or really any of our places and something happens and you feel like you don't want to participate anymore, then something went wrong. It's not supposed to be that way. Other Facebook page, other Discords, other venues, maybe they really like that, but that's not the sort of, I don't want anything associated with this podcast that has that kind of tone, particularly when we're talking about mental health and that kind of thing. And so, make sure Discord has moderators, Instagram my wife monitors it, and, all this stuff. So, just make sure you contact that. But, and the other thing I thought was about Discord is that, like you said, you enter this community willingly. It's not just like there's not like there's not a general Discord, right? Like each Discord is its own server, and it's like you're stepping into someone else's room, really.
Yeah.
And it just feels, as I was thinking about answering this person's questions, I was like, you know what? Even though it's all just internet commenting, each of these venues feels different to me when I go there.
Yeah.
And definitely. It's sort of like with Twitter or with Facebook, it feels like it's a chaotic market in the middle of town where no one knows each other and everyone is like annoyed with each other. There's a lot of stepping on toes, right? Yeah. And everyone's just shouting things out, trying to be heard. And a lot of times no one ever hears them. And in order to be heard, you got to be the most loudest or the most annoying or something. Whereas Discord doesn't feel that way at all to me. Discord, especially our channel, or our server, I have no experience with Discord outside our own server. It feels intimate. It feels nice. It feels safe. YouTube is interesting because the way that now you can essentially upvote comments that you like, right? That the top comments, the top 20, 30 comments on our YouTube videos tends to be civil. Either just like, here's my opinion, or let me make a joke, or let me, say something nice, or let me add my opinion. The further down the comments you go, the more you're going to get at risk of seeing more, I would call it toxicity. So on YouTube, although there are plenty of real fights going on with people and controversy, the things that float to the top, similar to Reddit, any good subreddit, for example, that is well, so then you go to Reddit, which is a whole other thing because each subreddit has its own echo chamber. That's what's kind of weird about Reddit. Do you use Reddit that much?
Not really.
Yeah. Each subreddit is like a completely different world. Like if you like, it's really weird. Like you'll go into some subreddits and it's about a topic that you're interested in, and you realize, oh, these aren't, even though the subreddit, like I dipped into the Beatles subreddit because of course you and I are super into the Beatles. And I posted this list I ranked every single Beatles song.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, this is my opinion. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I always have been.
And everyone was like, that's great, man. Good list.
No, everyone hated me because I didn't put George's songs at the top.
Right.
Like I was downvoted.
Oh, no.
And all the comments were like, where's George? Boy, you really like Paul McCartney. And I'm like, is this not the Beatles subreddit, or is this the George Harrison love club? You know what I mean? And the Paul McCartney hate club or something. And I just thought like, oh, this is called the Beatles subreddit, but this isn't, these aren't my people, right?
These aren't my people.
these aren't people for necessarily the Beatles, there's some kind of history going on here in this subreddit that I don't really know about. And so Reddit is like, so you'll find some subreddits are just like like 4chan level toxicity.
I wonder if it's like, so on the Discord the other day, first of all, I love this. So, I'm a troll, right? So we have the troll channel in the Discord, and someone posted a thing, like an idea for us to do. They said we should do, what if for April Fools, and of course now we can't do it, but we can. What if for April Fools, the podcast was just Beardo and Dr. Kirk talking about doing DMT and what would happen if a bear and a lion had a cage match?
What's DMT? Is that a drug?
It's a drug. Yeah, it's what Joe Rogan talks about it a lot. And then I said, we actually had a DMT episode before where I literally did some and talked, funny enough, about a real life encounter I had with a mountain lion. But I don't know if people believe me or not. But this is the kind of fun stuff you can do. And it's, it's all in good fun.
Right. And it's because we created a channel for Troll, and so
exactly.
And so each channel, there's its own little subculture on the Discord as well. Right. And anyway, to just finalize my point about subreddits is there'll be other subreddits where everyone is super nice and respectful, that kind of. But what do you think about this person emailing this patron saying Facebook is toxic and people are attacking each other because of the boomers? What do you think about that?
Oh, that's not something I like. First of all, it is a kind of othering, like those boomers. It is also people that I love are in that category.
Yeah. My parents are in the category. My mom, I guarantee you, and my dad have never attacked it.
Never.
My mom is a fountain of support on Facebook. And so now, is that to say that boomers can't be? But it's but
I've had both. I've had horrible arguments with people younger than me, my same age, older than me.
Yeah, I would say that toxicity and attacking on the internet knows no age range. And just sort of saying like, oh, it's old people is like, huh? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. And it goes both ways, because certainly there will be older people that will say, it's the millennials or whatever the next generation is. It's all them like attacking each other,
right?
With their rainbow parties and their, punch in the back of the head parties or whatever the next sort of news falsehood. All right, next email. Catherine from Luxembourg says,
we're just talking about Luxembourg.
Yeah. My relatives are posting conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19. I was wondering if you have some general advice as to how we can approach them without creating a rift in the family, putting too much pressure on them, but still try to help them understand fact from fiction. Berto, I thought you might be the perfect person to answer this question.
Okay, so I have this problem as well. I have relatives, direct relatives who believe that any number of things, including that it is not real, that masks are definitely not necessary, that it was a conspiracy, all sorts of things, right? Very close relatives, people I love, people I've grown up with. So it's not like some distant relative. These are real people I love. I have taken a tact, which is I use stories about my experience and my own life for real experiences. And I just tell them. And I don't have like a therefore, I just tell them. And my secret goal is like, A, they should know what I've been up to, what's happened. And B, maybe, they know me, they know I wouldn't make stuff up. Maybe these things make little mental dents, little anti-facts, right? And so it's examples like I would literally post on our WhatsApp thread and I would say, my neighbor caught COVID and was in the hospital this is real, or my coworker, got this as well. And like, I would do this, and I would tell these stories. I don't know if it works, right? I don't know, but that's the thing that I've tried to do is I've tried to, instead of, because I've actually tried the opposite before. Like one of my close relatives doesn't believe in climate change, and I tried like I tried sort of ridiculing the notion. That didn't go over well. That was a dumb idea. Then I tried actually just like sending facts, like, watch this, do this. Then I realized, wait, I'm doing the same thing they're doing because they sent me a video. It's like, watch this. I'm like, okay, that clearly doesn't work. So my new tact has been, I'm just going to tell stories about my life, my experience, how I'm affected by things. And then my hope is that chips away at the other bad inputs that they might be receiving.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice. Anonymous patron says, why am I afraid of being on camera? I have a phobia of cameras. I hate having my picture taken, being recorded, and I hate social media. Looking at myself in a picture makes me sick. Your deep dives on narcissism struck a chord with me. I think that my problem is a combination of excessive vanity and low self-worth. What do you think, Berto?
Oh, man, this is tough. Look, growing up, when I was little, I think when you're young, you don't really know what you look like. So I just assumed, when I was little, implicitly, I'm like, oh, I must be a good looking little boy, whatever. I don't know. I remember then at one point.
You don't know how you compare because
I don't know how I compare.
Because you haven't gathered enough data. No. You don't know if you're ugly or good looking or something. Yeah.
Now, I remember at one point, like this little girl took an interest in me. And so I thought, oh, I must be good looking. Okay, good. A little later in my development, I remember someone saying to me, "You used to be cute. What happened to you?" This was like I was like 13 or something, and I
That
was like,
awkward phase.
"What?" You know, I had other things not even related to looks. Like one friend of mine, one girlfriend of mine was like, um, you know, what you're lacking is a personality. You should have a personality like such and such. I'm like, oh, I don't have a personality. Okay. And then
what a I mean, it's one thing to be like, you don't have personality. Like, you need to have a personality like this other person.
yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, at the time I didn't find it funny, but I was like, okay. I was trying to like piece it together.
Like, what does that mean? Like,
then I kept going. And then when I was a teenager, like a 14-year-old, I felt really awkward. And of course, that's an awkward age. My arms were long and my torso was short and my legs
your arms
were long.
still are kind of long, aren't they?
Yeah, and my torso is still short. My legs are still. I never grew out of this. But also, my teeth, like my teeth were okay, but like my bottom teeth would like jet out a little bit.
Is that why you're?
So,
and people might think I'm joking, but is this why you're mildly obsessed with gorillas?
Gorillas?
You know, missionary and gorillas and the whole thing.
I don't know about that. I do love
because they have long arms thing is more short torsos.
Oh, I see. Well, I think my obsession with gorillas is because when I was a kid, King Kong was one of my favorite things. But anyways, I digress. The point is, I got really self-conscious especially because of my mouth. Like I was like, oh my gosh. And then there was this one kid in my class, like in 9th grade, who would always make fun of me because of that. And then, I mean, I didn't care for it.
Because of your mouth? What was wrong with your mouth?
Yeah, because of my teeth.
What's wrong with your teeth?
There's nothing now because it grew better and then I had braces anyways. But at the time, my bottom teeth would kind of jet out a little bit.
Oh.
And so there, I got a little self-conscious. And then I didn't know how to ask girls out, right? So then I wasn't sure anyways, because I'd be like, okay, this girl kind of likes me. And then I'd hear from my cousin, oh, she really likes you. But like I only saw her for 10 seconds. I remember I had a phone call only relationship with someone for months that we only saw each other for seriously like 10 minutes or something. But then there was another girl I was super into and I would go ask her out and she would have no interest. And so I'm like, what's happening? I don't understand life. Okay. So you go through all these phases and it's confusing. So in your head, you're like, am I good looking? Am I ugly? What's happening? And some people like me and some people don't like me. And then you grow up. But I didn't have internet. I didn't have social media. So that was bad enough just with that, just like little interactions here and there.
Right. So imagine history from that point forward where
oh my God,
you don't have any affirmation that anyone thinks you're cute and maybe even other messages or just a lack of messaging. And you're sort of stuck in that 13-year-old mindset. And then social media comes along and you're just like, I don't want any pictures being taken of me.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% sure that there's something deeply wrong with my face. So, you know what I mean? That'd be pretty rough.
Absolutely. And like the thing is, because I am, half narcissist, I actually, had, I don't know, enough. I guess maybe it wasn't the narcissist. My dad elevated me so much that I had enough little reserve in my tank to be, to feel okay with myself. But again, I didn't have to deal with social media and social networks. As I grew older, I liked taking pictures, but I became aware that certain angles look better for me. And so I usually prefer to be the selfie taker so I can be well represented. I am self-aware in that sense. And dude, I got to tell you, like this last few months, it got really hard because my eyes started getting affected by this thing. I have a thyroid condition and it affects my eyes. And my eyes have started to look like puffier and droopier. And then I remember trying to take a picture. I'm like, I don't look right anymore. I don't want to post a picture of myself. And I can totally relate to this of like feeling self-conscious. I'm going to get judged. People don't want to see me. I'm a hideous monster. It's like, what have we done to ourselves?
Yeah. What have we done? What has been done to us?
To us.
And what have we done to ourselves? So anonymous patron, on one level, what Berto's pointing out is pretty normal. A lot of people don't talk about it. And when we're ridiculed and made to feel worthless and ugly, then it's real hard to deal with that. It's trauma. The other thing you bring up is that you can relate to the narcissism. And there is a version of narcissism that actually will result in conscious self-loathing. Essentially, in a nutshell, when you're young, you go through relational traumas that isolate you and make you think that you can't depend on other people. And so you have to depend on the self. And part of this is dependent on your ability to believe that you're very special and that you're superior. Because in order to cope with the fact that you're alone, you have to depend on someone and you have to think someone is looking out for you. And so you really have to elevate the self because that's the only thing you can really depend on. And underneath every narcissistic personality individual is a deep sense of self-loathing. And so if you have a version of this, you can actually be conscious of your self-loathing while also wanting to be superior. And so there's this damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario for a person like this, who they're desperate to be the best looking, or at least very attractive in a picture. That's their standard for themselves. And they identify with a deep, deep self-loathing that everyone recognizes how terrible they are. And they're extremely self-centered because they haven't developed beyond that early phase of life where they think everyone is looking at them and the world revolves around them. Right. And so it's the worst of all worlds. At least if you're a different kind of narcissist, you believe every picture that you're in, you look awesome. No, you're not, and so it saves you. The defense saves you. But if you don't have that type of defense, you can have a version of narcissism where you're in a constant state of trying to, you're very focused on the self, and you're convinced everyone is looking at you, and you're in a constant state of trying to manage that with other people. Like one of the solutions out of this scenario, which would be very hard if you suffer from these kinds of relational traumas and defenses, is for someone to just tell you, and I'm guessing anonymous patron people have told you this, if you've ever told this to a friend, they're just like, don't worry about it. Who cares what people think? So, and that's one way out, but that might be really hard because the narcissistic individual is dependent on other people thinking that they're awesome. So they cannot get out of that loop of, you don't understand, I need other people to think of me in a very positive light. And I'm convinced that everyone thinks of me as a negative thing in the world. And I never get out of that loop.
And look, it's very easy. It's like very nice and easy to say that. Like, that just don't care. But first of all, when you're a kid, so I lived in a household that actually was not like that. The grandma, her sister that I lived with, I could do no wrong. It's like, maybe it was too much of a problem like that, but I could do no wrong. They would have never criticized me about what I was wearing or whatever. Now, the flip side of this, and same with my dad, the flip side is I also didn't get like good guidance on maybe how to style it up a little bit, how comb my hair a little bit better. My dad is someone who just didn't care. He just didn't think appearances should matter. So I never got any like tips and advice from him. But then I would go to the other household, my mom's side of the family, and it was the complete opposite. And I would arrive and it's like, oh my gosh, your hair is a mess. We're going to go get your haircut right now, Or like, what are you wearing? Why is this all baggy? Why is it? So I would always be like paranoid. I remember going to parties there and always feeling like so inadequate. Like, and like what you're saying, like, they must be all looking at there. Everyone is looking at me. Oh my gosh, I might want to like stand like this. So maybe I look not as bad. It was so weird. Right. And then you go to school and let's say I had told my dad, which I didn't, but let's say I told my dad, some kid at school is making fun of me about my teeth. And then he's like, who cares, son? You shouldn't care what anyone says. Okay, Dad. Then I go the next day and I'm sitting there doodling and then the kid's making fun of me. I'm like, I don't care what you say. Oh, look, he doesn't care. But you know what it's like? You're a kid. You do care. Because then the other one next to it finds it funny that they're finding it funny. And then like it's easier said than done. These things wear on you.
Yeah, totally. These solutions that parents and teachers often come up with is just ignore the bully. It's like, yeah, right. Upper tier patron Rose, she says, and I thought you might have a lot to say on this, Berto, because I don't really, because I don't know this world. Can you talk about the depression that professional fighters suffer after retiring from fighting? I'm a retired professional fighter, MMA, boxing, and bare knuckle fighting. I recently told another retired fighter that it's depressing being a normal person after feeling like a superhero for so long. He said he felt the same way, but he was too ashamed to express it. How do I cope with this? Being normal sucks. No adrenaline rush sucks. So what do we say to upper tier patron Rose, Berto?
Wow, yeah. I mean, I can not relate. Well, basically, obviously, I've never been a professional fighter. I will say a couple things. One of my best friends lives in Colombia. He was in the special forces in Colombia. He's a guy that loves adrenaline. He rides motorcycles, goes paragliding, and he was special forces, like total badass. And I do think that after he left that, he had a void, and then he became a bouncer. He used to get into a lot of fights. I think there was a void. There was something that he must have felt that it was like sort of like I like that superhuman feeling. Like I've been trained now, and I'm a badass, and I can punch and kick and use weapons, and I am Rambo. And then he leaves. It's like, oh, now I'm just in the normal world. Shoot, what can I do? What can I do? I gotta try to regain that. So I remember that I talked with him a lot about that. That's one thing. And then I do follow the world of UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is mixed martial arts. Follow as in I just watch a ton of that content. I know the fighters, I know their drama and all these things. Dude, I see it all the time. I'm retiring. This is it. This is my last fight. I'm retiring. And then 6 months later, I'm unretiring. That happens a lot because it is hard. Everyone looks up to them. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's really hard. I've seen it when they were undefeated and they want to go out on top. But it's like, oh, I could have had that one more fight, just one more fight. And then you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you don't have that one more fight, man, your record, it could just have that one more. But if you do have the fight, if you win, then you're going to go back to, maybe just one more fight. And if you lose, you're like, oh God, now I got to go back anyways, because now I got to reclaim it's a really hard thing. And you can see it in, for example, Conor McGregor, who was on the top of this world, top of the fighting world. And then he was, when he was at the top, he's like, you know what? I'm going to branch out. I'm going to go into boxing a little bit. And they set up this massive fight. He lost, but he did a decent job. And he got a ton of money.
Mayweather?
Yeah, Mayweather. Floyd. And then he's like, all right, I got a ton of money. So you're like, okay, cool, retire. He's got a little Irish whiskey and all these things. Retire. But no, man, he had to come back. And then he came back and it was hard for him. He got beat. Then he won. Then he got beat. Man, I see it all the time. It has to be hard. You're at the top of your game. You're loving it. You're getting the adoration of the fans. You feel like a superhuman. You're like, I can punch my way to victory. And then you can't go doing that at work in the streets or whatever. Like, that's not the world you live in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it applies to a lot of different sorts of people, athletes, and also just famous people who are no longer as famous. They were in a band and they were touring all the huge arena rock venues, and then it starts to slow down, and now they're playing smaller venues and then smaller venues and smaller venues. And how do you deal with that? How do you emotionally cope with that? There's a loss there. And I think it's and I also think I can kind of relate. As I get older, my body is definitely not working the way it used to. And I am envious of my 25-year-old body of just how resilient it was and how much energy it had and how well it slept at night.
I know. And it was that kind of thing where you basically, I mean, it wasn't true, but you definitely felt invincible. Like you were like, I could do anything.
Because I
I'm
could.
gonna
Because
I'm gonna stay
I
up all
could,
night. I'm gonna drink whatever. I'm gonna do whatever.
yeah, we did, and nothing
We did,
happened.
and nothing happened.
Nothing bad happened. And I remember hearing other people, and particularly older people, saying like, they would talk to me like, "Oh, to be young again." I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be fine, and then of
All
course,
your mind.
yeah. And as we get older, or as we become no longer MMA fighters, there's a loss, and if we and there's it's only sadness, or it's a lot of sadness, it's a lot of disappointment, it's a little bit of demoralization, a little bit of despair, but what do we do additionally? And I think that people like Conor McGregor and others, if they had some other purpose in their life, they wouldn't have to do these things that they know aren't going to work for them. So for me, for example, as my body stops working the way I want it to, it's a bummer, and there's no silver lining to that really. But what is the purpose of my life? Is it to have a 25-year-old body that is as resilient as before, that to have all the energy I had before, or do I have something else that gives me meaning and purpose and pleasure in my life that doesn't depend on that? And so I think we need, a lot of athletes who are, and that's one of the downsides of being a very good athlete or really good at anything early in life, is that it eclipses any other activity. Cause it's like, if I am a kick-ass MMA fighter, why am I going to spend time like crocheting or learning how to find hiking as a hobby or something? Like, I am so good and everyone knows me as this one thing.
Right.
Why would I do anything else? I always feel substandard, on this other thing. And then when it starts to dry up, what else do you have? And so I think that it's just important for everyone to be realistic about that and to plan for that.
Like you saw that with Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
He was like, all right, okay. The first retirement almost doesn't count because it was almost like out of protest, but still, it's like, I believe that he was like, okay, I think I'm done. I'll go try something else. It didn't work, right? He comes back and then he's still great. Okay, awesome. But then he's like, okay, now I'm done. But he's still like, oh man,
yeah,
I miss it. I got to come back.
Yeah.
And then he went back and then he was fine.
And it's fine. On one level, you're like, for me, I'm thinking, because when I was younger, I was like, oh, why don't they just retire and just go out on top? But then you think, but they love this stuff. They'll take a substandard team or record, and they'll get frustrated, but they love it. It's like my dad, for example. He still golfs. He's been golfing since he was a teenager. He like multiple times a week. Like, wow. I would venture to say, on average, he probably golfs 100 times a year. Or he's 77 this year. So what is that, like 60 years ish? So we're talking like, something like 6,000 plus times golfing. And he's not as good as he used to be. He's not as limber. He's had both hips replaced, but he loves it. Right. He doesn't, what else is he going to do? Just because he's not playing as well. And so the Michael Jordans of the world and others is just like, it sucks for the fans because we don't like to see our hero failing, but for them, they're like, but I love it.
Yeah.
And I'll take it over sitting at home and watching basketball. I'd rather be out there and failing than sitting at home and watching it,
Yeah.
Last email here, Berto. Lisa from Paris says, I recently came out of a 6-year relationship with a narcissist. I am going to therapy for that because I deserve it. Smiley face. Nobody seems to understand what I went through, though. I've been thinking about contacting my ex's ex to have a chat woman to woman because she would understand what I went through, since no one else understands what I went through. Is that a foolish idea to reach out to my ex's ex? I'd love to hear what you think about it. Berto, what do you think?
Interesting. So the ex's ex to like commiserate, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of
Okay. I mean,
course, your ex's ex would have similar complaints about,
yeah,
your ex.
yeah. I've seen that, and I guess I've done that too. Meaning, I have folks that I know who both were married to the same person, and both are no longer married to the same person. And they, I saw them commiserate over the same issues.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so that was interesting. It's like it
How
almost
often did they
brings it
commiserate?
together. What?
How often did they commiserate?
Well, I mean, they had a few, like there were a couple times where I specifically was with them, and I was like, yeah, okay, I see this is some catharsis for both sides. And I actually did that in a small way. I had a person that I dated that then I knew someone that dated them, and I remember commiserating a bit, but it wasn't a major thing. Like I was married to this person for 10 years, and then I could see the appeal. At the same time, so I could see it to a certain extent, like a little bit of validation, like okay, so maybe it's not just me, maybe. But I could also see it going the wrong way potentially. Like you certainly, yeah, you don't want to obsess over it. Like I've done this not with relationships, but I've done it, for example, with situations that were bad, and then I find that I've done this where there's someone that we both went through the same bad situation, for example, at work. And then later I realized every time I see them, that's all we ever talk about how bad that was. And so great, it's like a bonding thing. But at the same time, it's like, really? Like now we're stuck in that, and we're stuck reliving that bad situation. So I could see it becoming a crutch.
A bad situation involving spandex?
Involving whatever it is. Meaning, like, for example, if you yes, that would be the key. No, but I mean, like, if you had a situation with your ex, and that is something that you didn't like, and then you have someone that was their ex, and now that's all you ever talk with them about. I could see that becoming sort of like I don't know, like a very superficial outlet. And at first, I think it could be useful, but over time, and I guess what I'm relating to is that there are things that I've noticed that I shared an experience with someone a long time ago, and then I don't really have much more with that person. So every time I interact with them, that's the only thing we can go back to. And that thing was bad. And so then it's like, it's sort of like a reminder of something bad.
Yeah. It's interesting you bringing all this up. And I don't think I was making this connection, is that on one hand, if you go through a bad situation, like let's just take it to an extreme. Like me and my wife are walking downtown, and like this one time we went to a parade, I think, and we were walking through the heart of downtown, and this tow truck out of nowhere, we were walking across a crosswalk. We had the right of way, and this tow truck took a left, and I'm not joking at all, nearly killed the two of us. Was moving very fast, and was inches away from our face, and it was a huge tow truck, and I it was so bad that we actually chased him down. My wife was really angry, and we called his superiors. I mean, it was, we had to chase him like a few blocks down and got the number and the license plate, and it was that bad. I mean, for me
Yikes.
to physically run and be like, that person needs to know that was wrong, and me and my wife talked about it for, occasionally, all the time. We had this bad experience, and we both commiserated, and we validated each other, and we had to process it together.
Yeah.
And if I process it with someone else, I'd get a little bit of validation, but not as much as from my wife. I mean, we would just be,
Right.
aghast. Like, and every few years, we're just like, remember that one tow truck? And we're just, oh my God. So on one level, contacting your ex's ex is like that, right? You're like, man, when he did this and that, like you want someone that knows what that's like. It's extremely therapeutic and validating. On the other hand, I think, I don't think it really applies to this context, but when you're at work and you triangulate with someone else about your boss,
Mm-hmm.
then it creates potentially this culture of negativity towards your boss that can actually lead to you having a negative view of your boss that is greater than it would have been otherwise.
Yes, yes. In fact, so that's one of the things is a long time ago, I had a friend, a couple friends from work, and we would always like go into each other's office, close the door, and just start bitching and moaning about whatever situation, you know? And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. And did you hear what such and such did and stuff like that? Now I look back on that and I'm like, the hell are we complaining about?
Right.
Like, that was nothing.
Yeah.
That was nothing. But it was creating this constant reinforcement of negativity.
Right.
Now, you and I have shared band experiences where we had some less than ideal situations with bandmates.
Yeah.
Imagine if every time you and I got together, that's all we ever talked about, how bad that was. That's what I'm saying is like, it could get to be too much. It could get to be sort of negative.
Yeah. And cause problems for you because you're accentuating the negative in a way that is damaging to your life. The last thing I'll say, Lisa, from Paris, is it could be invasive to call an ex's ex. The ex is, this woman could be like, why are you calling me? It also could create drama in that if your ex finds out that you're triangulating in this way, it could raise suspicion of like you're trying to invade his life and then he tries to attack you and defend himself. Yeah. There's some danger there that you just want to be careful about. All right, Berto, final word on our episode about divorce and all the other things.
I learned some valuable statistics today. Well, I think if you're going to get married, maybe wait a little bit. Wait a little bit. B, let's all not focus so much on the negative. If you're going to have meaningful experiences with others, maybe try to make them positive, memorable experiences. And then lastly, I want to go on a vacation soon. Do you want to go on a vacation with me? Like, wouldn't it be nice taking a vacation, going off to Tahiti or something?
Yeah.
Making some beautiful memories.
Dude, when we get all vaccinated, that's all I'm going to do.
Let's do it. Okay. Yeah.
And everyone out there, get vaccinated and please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.